Hello and welcome to TNA Top 10 for January 7th, 2025. Not on the
Ooh, you got
calendar
that
behind
right.
me. I didn't put the year, but I had to look. I had to make sure that my phone showed me the date or I wasn't going to know it. But anyway, my name's T Weave. With me as always.
Uh-oh.
That's him, right?
Yeah, it's definitely him. It's not us.
All right. Looks like Terry's got a little issue going on, so we'll
T-Weave
just take
just
over.
froze, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you playing along at home. We do not use the private chat around here.
No.
In 2025, we've got lots on the agenda for tonight. Whenever Terry gets back, he might have to drop out and drop back. Look at him. He's just
so frozen.
so
So
frozen.
bad. He's so
Oh,
bad.
this is great. Welcome, guys, to 2025. YouTube and the X gimmick. Since, we
Hi,
get no
everybody.
respect from Facebook.
No.
One of these days, Allison, they will respect us.
One of these days. One of these days, one of our fans will go and create like 47 new accounts and subscribe to us from all of those accounts.
Well, you know what's insane is that, we'll get into it when Terry gets back because I have a lot on the warm-up for tonight.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
As you know.
So let's see.
What about the Yankees? What about the Yankees?
Well, all I know about the Yankees is that we have tickets and we're going spring training. Woo!
They're trying to get rid of Marcus Stroman now.
What?
Terry don't care about the Yankees. Yeah, they're trying to deal him. They're trying to trade him. Well, he didn't pitch in the World Series.
Yeah, and we picked up a lefty, didn't we?
Right-handed pitcher.
I thought we picked up a lefty.
He's a righty. Max Fried's a righty.
Yeah, okay. Maybe we need another lefty then.
I don't know. I think Stroman had a great prospect, but I don't know that he's going to make it work. And
I don't think we saw anything really spectacular from him. So
he was so up and down. He would either be really, really good, like lights out, or he would be awful. I mean, there was no middle ground. There was very little in the middle from him.
Yeah.
But yes, we are going to see Pittsburgh and we're going to see Boston take on the Yankees at George Steinbrenner Field in Tampa, Florida come March. We might even do a live video just to annoy Terry.
That's probably a great idea. Oh, who's coming back right now? Let's see.
He loves the Yankees.
There he is.
Terry is back.
New year, same problems, right?
Terry, go ahead and hit us with the announcement again. Me and Allison have been telling you about God's baseball team.
Yeah.
But it is
January. So I don't know. I said the whole thing. It is January 7th, 2025. With me, as always, is Allison Faye. How are you doing, Allison Faye?
Hi, I'm good.
Terry, do something before it annoys me. Flip yourself into your correct position.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I don't think we'll be here long because my upload speed's not looking great.
Okay. Well, that's all right. So why don't you tell us about how you're doing?
Well, I'm doing okay other than that.
Okay.
He's annoyed with the computer. Look at him.
Great Christmas. I'm going to hyper focus on that. But anyway, Christmas was great. We probably already talked about that. But New Year's been good. Back to work. Nothing too bad. Expecting a little bit more than a dusting of snow and ice.
Which is crazy because they both live in the South. Yeah, they both live in the South. Their temps are dropping. They're getting snow. I'm in the Northeast, and our temps are going up.
Yeah, we have a 50% chance of snow Friday, which means we're going to have ice. I live less than 90 miles from the ocean, and we do not live far enough west or central in North Carolina to get snow, really. Most of the time it's ice. We'll get a dusting or something. We may get snow. We may have a snow day from work. Who knows? It would be crazy. What else is crazy is I drive a rear-wheel drive Supra that does 385 horsepower, and it's never been in the snow or the ice. So Friday could be fun, particularly for other drivers. Terry, there was an incident this morning you shared with the group chat that I would like you in a loud and clear voice to relive here on the show, because Allison and I get accused of being New York drivers. Accused of being impatient, blocking people in or blocking people from coming over that don't follow directional arrows. Terry, what happened at the gate this morning?
So I come off the interstate, and there's a big, really long off ramp, and then I don't go onto the base, but tons of people are going onto the base, and traffic is backed up. And what I have to do is I have to get over 3 lanes as soon as I get off this ramp, and there's other traffic merging, and it's just chaos. Well, it's backed up, and I'm being patient like I'm supposed to, and this truck starts barreling down the shoulder like he's turning right, so he's going to skip 200 people in front of him. I'm like, half of us are turning right, dumbass. Don't slam into me when I try to get in the turn lane.
Hell anyway. No. So let me ask this, Andrew, what would you have done? Because I know what I would have done.
Oh, that guy would have never gotten over.
Correct.
And then
my ass would have been half in that shoulder.
So this is my deal. I no longer flip people off because of road rage. I just give them the thumbs up. Like, you've done a really nice job there, which is even more condescending. Way to go, pal. Who taught you how to drive? We are only 5 weeks away, too, from me getting my real ID. That's exciting.
Ooh, that is exciting.
I know. North Carolina's stupid. But yeah, so Terry had a New York driving incident, which is very exciting. Let me ask you this, Terry. It's the 7th of January. Are you participating in dry January?
No, I'm at about 30% of days where it has not been dry so far, I would say.
All right.
And that is not, by the way, I have a same cup that Terry just showed on this video. That is not a shot glass or a tumbler, ladies and gentlemen. That is
is that what that is? I didn't even notice.
That is, yeah.
That's my glass.
That's the squad girl.
I'm not a meteorologist, so I'm going to turn this the wrong way for you.
No, we can see it. It's right.
Squad goals.
Squad goals. Well, that answers that question. Next topic.
So, all right. I have a wedding to go to this Friday. Okay. Very excited. I had a dress, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to go look. This weekend I had no lec. So I was like, I'll go looking for a new dress. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Who told people in the fashion industry that if you are over a certain size, you only want to dress like somebody's grandmother?
Oh, God.
I'm looking for these dresses, right? And they're like, oh, suit dresses with a jacket. Or, maternity, like it's horrible. I feel like I should carry my little silver purse and like my, wear my little tea box hat, or what is that called?
Yeah, tea hat.
Tea box.
Yeah, okay. Tea box. Yeah, that's what I'd call it.
Anyway, it was very depressing until I actually got to one store and I found 2 dresses, which I couldn't decide, and I bought them both because why not?
Why not? No, I got money. Tell them.
But I mean, it's unfortunate because it's definitely, I feel like, a issue. I remember Mark used to feel like anytime he would go shopping for a button-down short-sleeve shirt, they would only make Hawaiian men's shirts in short-sleeve button-downs because for some reason they thought plus-size men must love Hawaiian shirts.
Well, they do actually, but yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
All right. So
we got a whole day for it at work.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, I don't know if anybody's checked on fashion lately, but it is awful. It is trash.
Yeah, other people. Yeah.
I do not have that issue, as everybody is well aware.
Yes, no, not at all. Absolutely not. All right, so let's see. There's some story about Terminator that I need to hear, apparently.
Terminator. Okay, so everybody knows that I am a government conspiracy theorist. Spoiler alert, 2025, that's not going to change, even if we do the Trump dance to the YMCA in 2 weeks. However, I happened to watch Terminator 2 Judgment Day on Max because it was on. And, of course, it's Edward Furlong, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Linda Hamilton, the guy that plays the C-1000, which is fantastic, or T-1000. But anyway, I watch Terminator. It's all about the rise of the machines. We're trying to blow up Skynet, all this crap. I get an email the next day, Gmail account. You from Amazon. We suggest that you purchase batteries because Alexa has told us your Fire Stick is at 17%. And this is the deal we have going on AAA batteries right now. They got more right in Terminator than they got wrong. Now, we haven't had the end of the world war yet with the cyborg, but that's coming. But they got a lot right about the reliance and dependence upon technology and machines in the future. As I'm reading our notes off the cell phone tonight.
Oh, you guys heard that there's now a what do you call those kinds of lawsuits? The big old lawsuits.
Class action.
Class action for Apple products listening in when they're not supposed to.
They all listen in. And the beauty of the fact that
I know, but they lost the thing, so they have to pay out now.
You can't see this because it's like blindingly just. But on my phone, my robot vacuum is telling me it needs a new filter. So
it's happening, people. It's happening.
Well, and that's the other thing on the Apple products, going back to what you were saying. If you remember the San Bernardino shootings, the terrorist workplace shootings back, I don't know, 7, 8, 10 years ago at this point, they refused to crack the guy's phone, to jailbreak the guy's phone. Apple said it was proprietary information. We're not giving it to the government. Fast forward, you're telling me because Apple's been listening in, we've got a class action lawsuit. Mm-hmm. I knew it all along. Speaking of the government, which we don't talk politics on the show, but I was amused by Trump's speech today. Apparently, we're renaming the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Is that legal? Can we do that?
I don't know whose land is it on.
I really don't know. I thought about that. It's like,
honestly, that's what it comes down to.
The name of it, yeah.
Well, I would think that land would be controlled by one of the countries.
Yeah, we're all 40-ish, and it has always been the Gulf of Mexico when we were in geography class.
Yeah.
Also, just as a point to yours, international law stipulates 10 miles out from the border is your international waterway. So once you make it 10 miles past the coastline, it's international waters. So is it the Gulf of Mexico or is it the Gulf of America? According to President-elect Donald Trump, we're renaming it the Gulf of America, not the Gulf of Mexico.
So then how does he get to make that choice? He doesn't.
Yeah, I don't know that he can or can't. That's what I'm asking.
Oh, Lord.
Will you guys participate in the renaming of the Gulf? Because all I can think of, did you all ever see the Three Musketeers, the Disney movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you know how Porthos always had those tall stories? This axe was a gift to me from the Queen of America. Like, that's what I'm hearing when Trump is talking about the Gulf of America. It's no longer the Gulf of Mexico. It is the Gulf of America. So rebook all your cruises. You need to make sure you have the proper paperwork. We're going to the Gulf of America, people. It's no longer a vacation. You're still in our waters.
For us, though, that's like when they tried to tell us that Pluto is no longer a planet. Like, bitch, come on. Pluto's always been a planet. What are you telling me?
Oh, and what's worse, they come back later and go, we found a 9th planet. It's like, you sons of bitches. You found a 10th planet.
It was already a planet, fools.
We knew that.
And then, again, non-political, but I have to get on my soapbox about Facebook because we still are unable to stream on Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg, you are a communist until you let us on. But they're eliminating fact checking on Facebook.
Yeah, I saw that too.
For quote free speech. We're gonna have community notes now, kind of like Twitter, as opposed to just fact checking and canceling your stuff. Will they not cancel our future program because they think that we're trying to get listener? That's the question, Terry. Will they?
Well, I gotta say, I have not got anything kicked back lately from Facebook when I've tried to share it.
And we've seen your posts.
That's been positive lately. It's getting
here's
better.
A peek behind the curtain, though. Legitimately, we've had them blocked, canceled, whatever, and we've disputed them. Terry and I jointly own the TNA account on Facebook. And guess what, Terry? I've never gotten any information back as to why it was or was not resolved.
No, but it hasn't happened again.
But it hasn't happened. It's very strange. And it's like, guys, we're doing a podcast, and the podcast requires our viewers' participation. Of course, we're trying to get more listeners or more participation.
Yeah, it was something. It was like you did this for more likes and views. Well, yes, it's freaking social media. What else am I supposed to do?
Correct. Now, if Terry had been shaking his ass with that liquor glass, it would have been fine. But because we asked for voting participation, non-presidential election. Anyway, final note before we jump into baseball and my unbreakable New Year's resolution. Baseball's less than 80 days away, Terry.
Yay.
I understand we've had the baseball eclipse. Are you guys familiar with this?
Yes.
The baseball
solstice.
Or solstice. Excuse me, I said eclipse. Solstice, yes. Where we are past the halfway point to spring training. Terry's just waiting for the Braves to make some moves. That's what he's waiting for.
I mean, the Braves are somewhat making moves indirectly because everybody's stealing all their pitching staff, but
Max Fried will be a great Yankee, Terry, and Allison and I appreciate your contribution.
Yeah, Charlie Morton's gone, and
it's crazy though. And Allison and I were talking when you went off the air. They're Yankees reported today they're trying to deal Stroman off to some team for a better leverage point or pitcher or whatever. So anyway,
yeah.
Well, we can go ahead and I can give you my unbreakable New Year's resolution.
Why don't we hold that till after wrestling?
Get to the wrestling. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
This is true. I don't know what the order is. I'm not the producer. That's
wrestling. Let's talk wrestling. I heard last night was a bust and nothing happened, and it was.
And and last night is the reason we're here tonight with bad Alabama internet.
Yeah, I heard wrestling sucked last night. Is that true?
That's what some opinions are. Yeah.
No, wrestling last night was freaking great. I looked at it from the view of, hey, I'm on Netflix. Oh, look, there's live wrestling. Let me turn this on. If that was me, I'm 100% convinced I would have been sucked in because you told a little bit of the history. You showed a lot of great pictures. You had not too much interaction from stars or legends, whatever you want to call them, but it was memorable. It was pretty good. And there was one super memorable moment for me, but we'll get to that.
Yes, we will. Terry, your initial thoughts on the Netflix launch and debut?
I think it's very similar to the first episode of Saturday Night's Main Event, where it's more about this is the first episode in a new format and less about what the show was. But I thought they did a good job, and they actually had a little bit of storyline in there with Rhea winning the title from Liv and
Roman
Dom trying to get a big hug. I guess I'm really focused on the other one, but I mean, there was some storyline there. But I think it was more the main focus was here we are. It's been a long journey, and now we've made it. And this is, like we said, Triple H comes out and says this is the Netflix era. And that, I think, in his head was a pivotal moment in the show to announce it.
Well, and pivoting off what you've just said, a couple of comments. Number one, wrestling used to be on one of 12 channels. Then it was on a superstation. Then it was on cable. Then it was on streaming, Hulu, whatever. And now it's on Netflix. The accessibility of people to watch the wrestling product has evolved as time has gone on. It is something to be celebrated. There was not, on my end anyway, North Carolina, shit or net or not, any glitch of any kind as they had with like the Tyson fight, which that just probably overwhelmed the Netflix network, if we're honest about it, because there's just way too many people trying to stream, that fight with Jake Paul, excuse me. The second thing is I 100% accept that last night was a victory lap. We've been talking about Raw going to Netflix and what that looks like for a year plus.
Yep.
And Netflix paid $5 billion for a 10-year contract. $500 million. That is a significant. That's not quite $10 million a week you're paying for WWE content, specifically Raw, because the NBC Peacock deal is not up yet. I thought it was very interesting. The first thing you pull up Netflix, it's right there. It's right there. Like, so to Allison's point, if you were curious, if you've ever been a casual fan, if you just wanted to see what it looked like, you're going to be able to click on the box. It was also very crisp. I will say the same thing about Max. AEW had Max, this past week, which we may or may not get to based on time. They beat WWE to the punch for streaming. Okay, whatever. You got it on Max. WWE got it on Netflix. It's not quite the same. One of these things is not like the other. But both of them were very crisp looking video platforms. And nobody beats WWE production. It's not even being a WWE guy. No. They're 50 years ahead of anybody that's going to do combat sports. That's UFC, boxing, other professional wrestling, or whatever. They're that good. And then the show was, again, a victory lap. They open up by telling you that they got the highest gate in the history of an arena show. Y'all paid
spent a lot of money.
Watch, did everybody else? Now, we know people that would brag about paying that type of money to go to an event and be part of it all, and then they put it on Twitter and get criticized for it. But on the other hand, I don't have a problem with the flex. I don't have a problem when Netflix just spent $500 million for your programming, and this is the debut show, that you see Netflix executives, that you see TKO executives. Because, again, this is a black hole show, and what I mean by that is you're going to remember Liv and Rhea, and you're going to remember CM Punk and Seth, and you're going to remember probably Jay and Drew and Roman and Solo, because it's the wrestling matches. But all of the rest of it existed in a vacuum, as we'll get to. And I don't think Triple H needed to appear after the voiceover, but that's me. And again, TKO, WWE has gone a very long way to remind everybody that Vince McMahon is no longer in charge of this company.
He was owning this new era with that speech. That's the way I took it.
And it was short, and it was to the point, and then the Rock ruined 30, or a year worth of creative with his damn promo. But it is what it is.
So let me ask you this, and this struck me, and maybe there's a lot more of this these days, but we had Seth Rollins and CM Punk, and they were telling this story, and they said Colby Lopez, who is now known as Seth Rollins, and that just struck me as something that's like, we really just said that?
Yep. Yeah, Becky calls him Colby. But very few people actually call him Colby. But yeah, Becky calls him Colby.
Yeah, they announced that on the show as part of the storyline.
Yeah, Michael Cole said it like very loudly. And, he's adopted, and he did grow up in Iowa and all of that sort of stuff. And he is a success story, and he was a CM Punk guy. And I think they did a nice job kind of showing the history and the story of CM Punk and Seth Rollins. The wrong guy won the match, but that's my opinion. Because CM Punk doesn't belong in professional wrestling. Also my opinion. But, I think that it was very interesting that they let The Rock give a babyface corporate board of directors promo. Because then we got to see him in the tribal combat match, and that was a little bit different than the presentation 20 minutes or 30 minutes earlier, but he's also the high chief now. They made sure to let everybody know that The Rock is a high chief. So very interesting the way they emphasize that. You want to go to the matches right fast?
Yeah, let's go to the matches.
AEW had a big weekend too, if you want to, but there's only a few things that happened that mattered. Yeah, I said it. I don't give a shit. Rock comes out. What do you all think of the promo? You know where I'm at. I mean, he went out of character. That's my thing.
That was definitely the issue for me. I was waiting for a little bit more like maybe heel, for him to come out with a little more of a heel, but I was like, okay, you're just doing a thank the bigwigs and I'm going to get my extra $1 million in my check speech. No.
I think him being there was a big deal. The speech itself,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm used to what he does, and didn't really shake me much.
Well, that's one thing people have to acknowledge too. Acknowledge. That's right. They're the ones.
Uh,
Is that The Rock is one of the biggest, most identifiable, recognizable people, not only in wrestling and Hollywood, but the world. So
they
when he's
call
there,
him The Rock wherever he goes, and that is his character's name. Like that to me tells you just how famous he really is.
and that was my point, is he's a
Yeah.
big fucking deal. Like
Yeah.
this to have him strut out, this is a big deal. So anyway, tribal combat, rightfully so. The tribal
I was
chief,
happy that was the first match.
Roman is
Right.
back.
Yeah.
Of course, we had all the bullshit and shenanigans, and we got to see that at WrestleMania. Now we got to see it again. But Cody and Kevin,
but we
and
didn't
Sammy
see The Rock.
We did not see The Rock till the end.
Right.
Yeah.
And he,
and everybody kept waiting.
He is a high chief, since Alpha and Sika are dead now, and I don't know that everybody made that connection.
I didn't.
Recrowns Roman as the tribal chief of the Unknown family.
That makes more sense now.
Because Alpha and Sika are dead.
Right.
I know that I say that very bluntly, but they had great careers. They were older, but they're the ones who originally gave Roman the Ulafala.
Yeah.
And now another high chief has given him the Ulafala.
And did you notice that I think it was Michael Cole who now called him the only tribal chief?
Yes, the only so OTC instead of original is only.
Yeah.
What about Paul Heyman sitting there clutching it? Oh my, he's so good with his facials. He doesn't have to say nothing.
So good.
So good. Paul Heyman needs his own wing in the Hall of Fame, and I will not be told otherwise. That, and if you are involved in a relationship, this is free advice for 2025. If your partner does not look at you the way Paul Heyman looks at Roman Reigns, dump their ass immediately, because you deserve better.
And hang out more with your friends.
There you go.
Correct. Cheers. So up next, I don't even know what the note was, but we want to talk about the women's match. I think that's fantastic.
I think that was next, right?
Yeah, Rhea and Liv. It was originally advertised as like a last woman standing, anything goes. I'm not sure why they changed it. I think we can all agree Liv has done a great job being a chicken shit heel.
100%.
Rhea's been injured. Somebody had to step up. Becky's gone.
Right.
Charlotte's gone.
Well, Becky's coming back though. I just saw
Becky's coming back.
Contract signed. Yes, sir. So expect that for WrestleMania. I would imagine she'll be at the Rumble.
Yeah.
But Rhea is just a whole nother level. And it was almost anticlimactic because it was a foregone conclusion that they're putting the title back on Rhea Ripley. My thoughts. Your thoughts.
Well, I'll go ahead and go. I kind of mentioned it earlier, but I thought, Dom going up there trying to get a hug, and all that at the end. And what I wonder going forward is Liv just going away for now? I mean, are they just going to kind of? They could go down two paths. Either there is some kind of issue between Dom and Liv now, and they go down that path. But I don't think it's worth it, because I think you just say Liv moves on to something else, let her go away a while and come back, and then just.
And I think they're a good pairing. I think they play off each other very well. And Dominic, part of the Dominic Mysterio character is that he doesn't generate real heat. People aren't going to stab him with a razor blade walking down the aisle. The fun of Dominic Mysterio is that you're supposed to boo him. You're supposed to not like him. Yeah. You're supposed to not let him get a word out. And we'll get to that in a second too.
But it's almost a boo him because you like him kind of situation.
That's what you're supposed to do.
That's my kid. My kid loves to boo him.
Yeah.
Right.
Because Lex, like the rest of the wrestling audience, has been trained that when Dominic Mysterio opens his mouth, you don't let him talk. You just flat out boo him. And you keep booing him, and you keep booing him. And I think Dom is a great heel and a good character who didn't have a good way to start because let's face it, you're Rey Mysterio's kid. That'd be like Eddie Guerrero's child or any of the others, these high level, trailblazers in professional wrestling. Go ahead and live up to that stand. Cody Rhodes is still trying to live up to the shadow that Dusty cast, and good luck. But I really liked the match. I did not like that Rhea hit the Riptide the first time and only hit the first one, and Liv kicked out of it. I think if Rhea Ripley hits you with her finish, that should be ball game. But she did hit her with 2, and then it was over. And then, like you said, Terry, after the match, she got Dom too. So
I think some key words there are if Rhea hits you with it, it should be over. Because like I've heard Jake Roberts answer the question about what do you feel about the DDT not being a finishing move, and he goes, makes me feel awesome because when I do it, it's a finishing move. These guys don't do it as well.
Right. And it becomes transitional and that sort of thing. I'm gonna pick up the pace because it's my fault. We keep talking too much. Hulk Hogan was in the building for an attempted promo. Joint venture gets announced before the show about WWE sponsoring his beer. Allison, I got a text message from you immediately as it was happening.
It was so loud. It was so loud that I went on the internet today to go find a video of what it actually sounded like in the building. And it was 10 times louder than we thought it was.
Yeah.
It was phenomenal.
They turned the TV mics down, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Terry, did you ever think you'd live in a world where Hulk Hogan got booed like that? And I'm not talking, this is the new world order of wrestling booed. I'm talking about Hulk Hogan, the legend, the golden era guy, the NWO.
Go home.
Did you ever? Yeah, that was go away. That was get the hell off of our television. Did you ever think it happened?
Oh no, because I mean he's always been box office star, so it's a big shift. But
to me,
that was decades ago, really though.
Yeah, to me, there's 3 generational talent WWE's ever had if you don't count Bruno. So you have Bruno prior to WWE, but the only Americans has only. But you had Bruno, and then it went to WWF, and you had Hulk, Austin, Cena. And speaking of John Cena, he's going to be in the Royal Rumble, and he's going for the 17th World Championship. He has put that out into the ether. I don't see how this year doesn't end at some point John Cena being another champion again and ending Ric Flair's 16-time record. Thoughts?
I think they'd be very happy to do that. I think they would much rather have the record holder be John Cena than Ric Flair.
Yeah.
Well, and let's face it, guys. John Cena, like Total Divas made John Cena look like a weirdo, like a complete, with his rules and his cigarettes or his cigars and we're going to wear suits to dinner and all that bullshit. But John Cena granted more Make-A-Wishes than any professional wrestlers combined. And for that, I'm always going to be a John Cena fan.
I believe he is the #1 Make-A-Wish giver.
Yeah. Doesn't matter what profession you are.
Doesn't matter what profession. Doesn't matter anybody. He is the #1 requested and given. Make-A-Wish.
And let's face it, guys. Make-A-Wish sounds cute. These kids are dying.
Right.
And he's going and seeing kids on their deathbed as something that they want to see. George is here. Cena versus Gunther. Oh my God!
What I wonder, he didn't just mention the Royal Rumble. He said
he didn't.
He said Money in the Bank, and he said King of the Ring, I believe. So it's possible that he's setting up an idea where he almost wins the Rumble, and then he comes back and says, "Well, I'm not giving up. I'm going to get this 17. I'm not done yet."
Wins that Money in the Bank.
Yeah,
that's a great idea.
They got a lot of options here. Yeah,
that's a good idea.
And Cena, as much as anybody put in the time, and he was the WWE during the PG era, And it was, well, Ruthless Aggression to the PG era. It was a very different time in professional wrestling. I think he's earned the right to be the champion one more time. One more time. He's not entitled to it. He's earned it, and there is a difference. The other guy's entitled, and a bitch too. I'm rooting for Bronson Reed over Ric Flair, and I will say that in a loud, clear voice.
There was only one more match, and I know, Andrew, you were not pleased with the outcome.
No, Jey Uso did not smoke the joint on the way to the ring.
Yeah, no,
with
that was
Travis
his.
Knight. That was hilarious. Triple H said, I'm glad Jay said no.
That was crazy.
Smoking a blunt on Netflix. This is what we can do on Netflix versus cable television.
It was a vape. It wasn't a blunt.
It was a blunt. I saw the tweet.
You could see it.
It was a blunt. But he said no. But Jey Uso gets the roll up on McIntyre. Obviously, that's not done, you know. But yes, the big match. CM Punk versus Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins should have won. And just as a point of record for both of you, because you can go ahead and discuss this, because I have no CM Punk talk on my show, our show. You know what I mean? It's our show, not your show. Thank you, James Okarai. They used the same finish against Moxley in AEW at All Out 2022. The go to sleep, off the ropes, bounced onto him into another go to sleep. And Seth Rollins dead weighted him, and it was shit. But anyway, what did you all think of it? I thought it was horrible.
Go ahead, Allison.
Terry's trying not to laugh.
I'll be honest, this was at the end of the show, so I was fading. I might have fallen asleep once or twice. It was not good enough of a match for me. Does that make sense? Yes. A better match would have kept me awake. It didn't.
I honestly thought they held back, or they just didn't click as much as I was hoping they would.
So how many matches have they had at this point?
One.
I think it was only 5.
Oh, you mean last night? There were 4.
Or against each other.
Yeah, against each other.
1. Oh, that one.
That was their first match against each other, because they've been going
in 10 years. Yeah, in 10 years because of the Shield deal.
Well, this has been brewing.
Well, and that's the problem. I think that that 15-year-old kid builds up that anticipation of that first date in his head, and it's a complete and utter letdown.
That's exactly what I was saying. I expected more. It should have kept me awake, and it just wasn't. I didn't feel like there was enough of a payout.
No.
I don't know.
But Netflix, do you know what the Raw rating is for this week, guys? I saw this on Twitter. Raw's television rating is 0. You're welcome.
Why?
It's not on television.
Netflix.
Oh, Netflix. I didn't think of that. Well, you know what? I heard a story, Andrew, that you have a resolution that you are not going to break.
No, we can't talk about that yet.
Why?
Because we have to mention AEW.
Oh, we do?
This is why we have to mention AEW.
Okay, why?
AEW jointly held their show Wrestle Dream after Wrestle Kingdom. Wrestle Kingdom is church. Fuck y'all. Number 1. Number 2, Daddy's Home. Kenny Omega, after over a year with diverticulitis, went 33 minutes with Gabe Kidd in the Tokyo Dome and put on a clinic.
Oh, yay.
I don't have the faith in Tony Khan to follow up with this. But if you haven't seen the match, it was worth the price of admission to watch Kenny Omega do his thing. It's quick, it's fast, like he is. Everything is sudden, crisp. When he hits somebody with the knee, it looks like he hit him with the knee. So,
wait, I was too late for this.
That's what she said.
But as I said on social media, and I think I told you guys, my honest review of that match is Daddy's Home, Billy Goat Who. And, I understand that Will Ospreay is considered the best wrestler in the world by Dave Meltzer. But Kenny Omega reminded everybody Saturday night that he is the cleaner. And that's the version of Kenny Omega that needs to come back to AEW. Is the one we saw Saturday night. Big time Kenny. Don't put him in these bullshit matches on Collision. Only matches that matter is what Kenny Omega at this point in his career should be wrestling. And I say the same thing about Will Ospreay, and guess who Ospreay drew on Wednesday night?
I don't know.
Buddy Matthews.
Oh.
Of the House of Black. Rhea's significant other.
Her husband.
There's nothing wrong with Buddy Matthews. But AEW has not used Buddy Matthews since London, and all of a sudden he's wrestling Will Ospreay, the best wrestler in the world, on your Wednesday television program.
You're asking me to believe that storytelling happens at AEW, or things matter. It's pick a name out of a hat. That's how I feel the matches are made.
I made this joke to you and you agreed with it, Allison. Terry, I don't know if I've shared it with you. It's Tony Khan with all of his wrestlers in his bedroom playing with his toys.
Well, he's also trying, and he said from the start, he's trying to make it more like a sport where there's standings and a lot of tournaments and that sort of thing. So I think storylines hit the road when you try to do that more.
One wrap-up point on this, just because you guys haven't heard me bitch about this enough. Terry, the main event of Dynamite tomorrow night is a casino gauntlet battle royale match. Multi-man, your favorite kind, where the winner will get a match against Moxley in Cincinnati in his hometown.
Excellent.
Because we don't do enough gauntlet matches in AEW.
Not at all.
Ridiculous.
Now for the resolution. A,
let's go.
Number one, I will continue to shit on AEW because that's my job. But B, much to Terry's chagrin, I am decided that I am going to be even more outlandish this year than I was last year. And I know that is a resolution I can keep. But Terry, one of our dear friends suggested tonight's topic, and that would be?
Most easily abandoned New Year's resolutions. And let me tell you, sometimes we struggle with the name. And this one, we had to consult some experts and say, what do we call this? And this is what we arrived on. Most easily abandoned New Year's resolutions.
Oh, I can't wait.
You want to know what did not make
not make the list, Terry?
Just missing the list this time, getting organized, which I noticed that I kept on there twice. It's 2 options.
I took a picture of my top 10 this time. I remembered, so now I'll know it was on my list. Okay.
The second one, pay off debt. That is another one that just missed the list. Read more, just missed the list, and practice self-care. So those are the 4 that just missed. Our version of others receiving votes.
These are not on my list, so I'm excited to see the top 10.
You want to know what number 10 is?
Let's go.
Please, let's do it.
Take the stairs.
Who the hell
me every year. This is me. I'm like, I will take the stairs more. I take the stairs, but I'm like, my knees did not like that. Screw that. I'm taking the elevator.
Hey, okay, I used to work on the 2nd floor, and I would take the stairs every day. I now work on the 5th floor. I took the stairs one day. It ain't happening.
So here's a travel story for Allison. At Raleigh-Durham Airport, you have the option to take the elevator or take the stairs. I always take the stairs. I'm in a hurry. Get the hell out of my way. Because I also do not show up at the airport 4 hours early for a flight.
Well, let me tell you who I am. I will stand on the escalator and let it bring me up.
Not me.
I ain't walking.
I'm moving. I am moving. Just like the this has nothing to do with the top 10 necessarily, but the jet walk, the one in the I am walking on that thing. I am not standing. Move.
Oh, now they do have lanes on the jet walk thing. Now I will walk on that, especially. I mean, of course, if I need to get somewhere in the airport, I'm going to walk on that. But it feels like you are just blazing a path.
Oh yeah,
it's like in like is it Dumb and Dumber where they're driving across country and he's like running in the car? He says it feels like you're running really fast. It's like the same thing.
Devin had a suggestion. Always screenshot your list after you vote. That's what I do now.
Yeah.
So this is more fun.
I did not.
I have not done it a single time, and
I finally remembered.
I can promise you, Take the Stairs was not on the list because I always take the stairs anyway. Move on. Number 9, please.
Number 9, resolve conflicts.
Who's voting on this shit?
It's on my list.
I figured that was your number 1, Andrew. That's not your number 1.
Absolutely not. I resolve conflicts by telling people.
He wouldn't even put this on his list. All right. Andrew would be like, screw you. I don't want to resolve nothing with you. Come on.
It's resolved.
This did not even sniff the. I didn't even know this was on the list. Resolve conflicts.
Let me tell you something. AI did an excellent job this time making these pictures because I just about used the very first picture that was generated for every one of these.
That's fantastic.
That's actually really good because that never happens.
No.
Right. Sometimes I have to go 10 or 12, but this time it's really good.
All right. What's number 8?
Number 8, avoid unnecessary expenses. Yeah.
I like to shop. All right. Retail therapy is real for me.
Mine is not shopping. Mine is going through the drive-thru on the way home.
I don't know that I saw this one either. I know I voted for pay off more debt because that just there is a plan in place with an end date that involves a compound. But I don't know avoid necessary expenses. What is unnecessary? That's all subjective.
So I mean.
Yeah. Well, I mean, come on. Like I said, driving through the drive-thru instead of going home. We've got McDonald's.
Me Uber eating a couple of days a week.
Oh God, that's horrible. Anything, it's like it's expensive enough as it is, and all these other extra fees on top. Ugh.
Devin has a good point at Dunkin'. No offense to the Dunkin' crowd. Make your coffee at home, people. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Love compound talk.
Number 7.
I'm ready for Andrew to take over.
Stick to a budget.
Yeah.
I can't do this now. I have disposable income. It doesn't work.
Yeah, Allison's budget. You want to know what Allison's budget is? She's got an envelope for every day's gambling individually when she goes to Vegas.
This is correct.
Budgeting.
That is absolutely correct.
And when the party is over.
And that's correct. And if I don't open an envelope one day because I don't need it, that one goes back into the safe and I never use it.
You double up the next day. Double or nothing.
No.
Oh.
Nope.
Quick poll. Does the budget ever come into mind when you guys have all dined with me? That's no.
No. And
I got to take a note. I've got to make a dinner reservation for the end of the month. I was supposed to do that today. Shame on me. I should put it on a planner that I might have got for Christmas.
Maybe. Planning Terry. Hashtag it.
Nice.
Number 6.
Don't have a reservation. Blame Terry. I always take care of that stuff. I will not be there.
Well, here's the problem. Before I go to number 6, the problem with this place we're going, they don't do online reservations. I got a call, and they don't open until 5. So it's like, that narrows it down.
Ew.
Yeah.
I hate having to talk to people.
Yeah.
Number 6, drink more water.
I drink a gallon and a half water a day. This is not.
Yeah, I did not vote for this.
I drink a lot of coffee. I mean, my problem is I need to quit drinking coffee and start drinking water earlier in the day, and I just continue to drink coffee.
I've been on Frankie to do this one. He needs more water in his life.
Yeah, it does help. Obviously, your body is 2/3 water. Nutrients to the cells.
They always tell you take your body weight, divide it in half, and that's how many ounces of water you should drink a day.
Correct.
And I should lose weight, so I have to quit drinking so much water.
Drink less.
Number 5, limit screen time.
Kudos to Devin, who just took a drink of water because of us.
There was water in what I drank earlier.
All right, limit screen time. So I 100% will tell you, I have tried to do this in the past and I have failed.
Who are we polling? I turn off the screen time notification on my phone because I don't need that type of negativity.
Oh man, I hate who told Apple that we wanted to know that information.
I don't use it for me. I only use it for the kid.
Oh,
I don't want to know for me. Good God, no.
Oh my goodness, no kidding. You spent 16 hours on Candy Crush.
But how would I watch you guys? Exactly. Thank you, Devin. Thank you.
And little Jimmy's been drinking water since he woke up at 4. So good job, little Jimmy.
Good job, Jimmy.
Go pee, little Jimmy.
Yeah. Question
right,
for Allison. Between Auburn and Nebraska, who are you more of a fan of? Must pick a choice, please and thank you.
I wasn't putting this up here because I don't know who that is, because that's not how I spell my name. So.
Oh, I was about to point that out.
But if I had to pick one,
if you don't know who Nebraska and Auburn are, I know you sleep during the second hour of this show.
Yeah, apparently. But I was going to say, if I have to pick one, sorry, Terry, you know Andrew will always get my vote.
Okay.
It would be Nebraska.
Okay. I'm just a little more vocal about it. Terry is sitting there just sleeping on the fact that they dropped out of the top 10 transfer class.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God, stop.
No,
we'll talk about it next hour. Next hour. What's number 4, Terry?
Yeah, we'll definitely talk in the next hour. So somebody's putting preseason top 10 Auburn out there. That's lunacy. Number 4.
It's crazy.
Save more money.
This one was on my list.
Okay. Not mine.
Yeah, I mean,
we're one out of 6 so far. Thank you.
A lot of these work together. You know, I mean, if you do this, like read more is going to mean more screen time and less. I mean, I guess you can read from the screen, but you know, they work together. Number 3, lose weight.
Yeah.
Hi.
Now this dude lost a lot of weight. This guy,
he lost a lot of weight.
Really. Yeah.
He is G-act.
I always give up because I'm like, yeah, I'm fine.
You know what I'm impressed with AI on this picture? That's the same guy.
It's
not like just one fat guy and one skinny guy. You can tell that's the same face. They did good here.
Yeah, so the thing is on the losing weight is it's not about losing weight, it's about being healthier. And that, if you make the goal to be healthier, you will lose weight.
Right.
If you make the goal to lose weight and you become infatuated with the scale and what it is and is not doing, you will not lose weight. You will get discouraged and you will quit.
That's right.
Anybody want to do cardio with me? Allison said no.
Absolutely not. I have watched you do cardio. I do not want to be anywhere near that. No.
Y'all wonder why I'm so wound up all the time.
He watches reels while he's like going on the Stairmaster thing. Hell no.
True. It's true.
Number 2. It's covered up. I can't read it. Eat healthier.
Well, I'm glad this is here because to Andrew's point, this goes right with the last one.
Yeah.
This was my number 1.
Yeah. So skip the fried gnocchi until you're on vacation. Then we eat all the gnocchi.
Okay.
All the gnocchi. Yeah. Allison loves fried gnocchi, for those of you who didn't know that. We had some banging ass gnocchi at Sabatino's. It was fantastic.
We did.
Even Terry tried some. Also, do not get your hands near Terry's plate while he's eating. He will fuck you up.
I don't remember this incident. I must have been drinking wine or something, but
here's my father.
It's probably true.
My father's healthier eating includes a McRib.
I love George. There is nothing healthy about
he sends me a picture every time he gets one. I get a picture of it.
Can you imagine the sodium content in the McRib?
It doesn't matter. It's limited edition. It doesn't count.
It doesn't. Like broken cookies doesn't count.
Yeah, they need to take the steak, egg, and cheese bagels away for like a week and bring them back so I can claim that about those.
There you go. All right.
I do love a steak, egg, and cheese bagel, though. That's legit.
Best thing they have.
Please stop talking about it. Let's go. Next.
Number 1, drum roll, please. Get more exercise.
Yep.
3, 2, and 1. Yeah, all go together.
Yeah,
but exercise is more about health, blood pressure, stress level, muscles. Feel great.
Now this park right here in this picture, people are running.
Great.
Somebody's falling down back there. Did you notice that?
Except the big runner guy has a green face.
And he's like side-eyeing the picture taker, like, don't be taking a picture of me.
Because he's an
alien. Random yoga person sitting.
I'll say he's about to blitz this woman on the yoga mat, and all she's doing is trying to find her inner peace out here. What the hell, Terry?
He's on his lunch break or something.
Oh my goodness!
He's not inactive.
After you complimented AI, and this is what happened. This douche is running on her yoga mat.
But I just now noticed the one that's falling down in the back.
Yeah,
excellent.
I'm more concerned about the alien. Like, there's nobody.
There's another one running in the
back.
Look how
big the alien is. Look how big the alien is compared to the lady sitting down.
The alien? What alien?
The guy has a green face in the orange tank top. Do you not see that?
I don't know. I guess.
My screen shows him with a green tinted face. Yeah, not alien green, but it's
Terry could be colorblind.
Yeah,
very common in men.
This is all gray and white. What are you talking about?
Which explains his wardrobe. Not
what does green mean? Well, that's true.
Until we go shopping in Vegas,
right now.
And then he buys nice stuff, right?
I did. I buy nice stuff all the time.
When we were in Vegas,
this is my go-to sweater, though. This has been through a lot.
All right.
Yeah, where's your orange sweater, Terry? I'm disappointed in you not wearing orange on this program.
All right, let's run this down.
Next year when Auburn's in the top 10, I'll wear it. Let me run it down. Number 10, take the stairs. Number 9, resolve conflicts. Number 8, avoid unnecessary expenses. Number 7, stick to a budget. Number 6, drink more water. Number 5, limit screen time. Number 4, save more money. Number 3, lose weight. Number 2, eat healthier. And number 1, get more exercise.
Good stuff.
That was a really fun top 10 list. Thank you all. Yeah. Good way to kick off 2025. Always looking for ideas. As a reminder,
absolutely.
You all know us. You probably have our cell phone numbers and/or handles. Tell us what you want to hear next.
Hopefully somebody that doesn't know us personally is watching.
That too. But we know who our core audience is, Terry.
I was like, I don't know. Do we really want that?
We know who our core audience is.
Yes, we do. We love you.
That's right.
And we absolutely love you. Like
and we love you can also tell that I'm old because I make my hearts like this, apparently.
Yeah.
I didn't know
there's geographically. As opposed to what?
Yeah. I don't know. There's like this.
Yeah. So it's this or it's this, and you're geographically incorrect.
No, that's something else, Andrew.
Yeah, I realized I did it as I did it. Which is not something I.
All right. So I'm done. Next.
Anyway, speaking of our friends, Pondwater Dave and Amy on Talking Wrestling, we'll be reviewing the Netflix show tomorrow. I don't know of any special interviewee they have. But always worth checking out. Amy asks the good questions. Pondwater brings the comedy to the show, and both are very knowledgeable wrestling fans. And I guess in the business, somebody told me I was in the wrestling business because I do research and host podcasts. I said, no, I'm not. I'm just me. I mean, do not put that on me. Do not put that on me. But I'm going to put it on Amy and Dave. They're in the wrestling business, and they're really good at what they do. So check it out. Available tomorrow. Is it 7, Terry? Eastern, I believe. 7 or 8?
That would be my guess. That's when they've been doing it, Wednesdays.
They are on Facebook because Facebook loves them. Check them out on Facebook, YouTube, the Twitter gimmick. You can find them.
Because they have semi-famous people on their show, and we have.
Yes,
that's correct.
And we get no followers whatsoever.
Amy confirms.
Yes. So check it out tomorrow. Well worth your time. It is fun. Amy asks trivia questions that nobody is going to get without the help of Google. And it's a good time.
All right. Well, we are almost exactly on time, just like always. We thank everybody for coming.
Oh, I thought you said thank you. Like, thank you I thought you said as always. Like we're
right
on
on time, just as always. Like, no, not always on time.
And that is not a New
Especially
Year's
when we have this
resolution.
crappy Alabama
No.
internet problem.
That is not a New Year's resolution because we'll break that motherfucker in a minute. But Terry, I think you were wrapping up the first hour. Go ahead, my man.
But thank you. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for voting. Like Andrew said, any ideas, please get them to you. We will continue to work on better ways for feedback. I've got this grand idea to write a cell phone app. We'll see if that ever happens. Who knows?
The man's busy though, guys.
Yeah,
legitimate.
It may or may not happen. I would love for it to happen. I'm not hiring it out because this is what I do for a living. I should be able to do it. But anyway, if you're staying for the football show, give us just a few minutes, and we'll be back. And thanks everybody. And as always, love your people. Tell them you love them. Make it weird. See you next time, everybody. Oh, I did not do that correctly for those that are watching, but welcome to the January 7th, 2025 episode, the football edition of TNA Top 10. I'm supposed to move that out of the way once I start that video, but production value is at an all-time low. Maybe the producer needs to take over some of these things I act like I can do, huh? Anyway, welcome, Andrew. We are really narrowing the football season down. For those that are new, this was the original show, and we added the other show. We're in our second football season, coming to an end, trying to get better, and I hope we do every week. But we got a lot to talk about, Andrew.
Yeah, we no longer talk about double A gap blitzes on this show, Terry, although it might get mentioned tonight, since I just brought it up. But what we used to do was break a game down play by play, like where we spent 45 minutes on the Iron Bowl and 4th and 31. Terry's team came up on the losing end for those of you playing along at home. But yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces. There's a ton of information. You know, the transfer portal has made this show, has forced us to change the way we talk about football. And this is our second full season of doing this.
Yeah.
So God knows what it's going to look like in a couple of years if we're still doing this, which I hope we are. But
maybe by then I'll have that app out there, and you can get a notification on your phone, and you can do our top 10 list.
Correct.
We're going to see.
Terry's goal for this year, we're not calling it a resolution, we're calling it a goal.
Right. Yeah, I don't
possibly write a program. But no, this is fun. You know, we're putting notes and stuff together, and I'm like, oh, we don't have a lot to talk about this week. And by the time we got the notes done, I was like, oh, that's a lot of stuff there, Terry. And that's always how it ends up being with the two of us when it comes to football, because we eat, sleep, and breathe it. But I guess if you were getting paid the kind of money some of these teams are getting paid for the playoff appearances, we should eat, sleep, and breathe it. Is that correct?
It's true, and I did have a graphic, but I was not super confident because there's still some questions for me about what the Pac-12 gets. So I've heard some information that was going a little against my numbers because the Pac-12 is such a big question mark with the two teams, but they still have bowl tie-ins. So I kind of held that back. I'll try to find out more and show that next week. But I think the thing that's been talked about most is Notre Dame at the moment is going to make $14 million and not have to split it with anybody. And if they win in the semifinals, they will get another $6 million to themselves, and it'll be at $20 million.
Yep.
And the other teams are having a split among 18 teams. Auburn is sitting at home. Very thankful for the other teams that made bowl games. Thanks to you guys. We appreciate the money, but Notre Dame ain't sharing with anybody.
Well, and that's the beauty of them being independent, and it's one of the reasons that they've always, you know, nobody will tell me otherwise. It's the reason they're not in the ACC for football. They're in the ACC for virtually every other big-time sport. They're not in the ACC for football. And the reason for that is they have their own network. They have their own television deal. They have this, to your point, Terry, Marcus Freeman, Al Golden, they've got their team playing pretty well.
Yeah.
They're in the semifinals of the college football playoff, and they're expected to make $20 million.
Right.
And season.
Even UConn, who's independent, made it to a bowl game. There are 3 bowl games that do not publicize the payouts to the teams. And UConn was in one of those. So I don't know exactly what they made, but they are also not sharing with anybody. I think they were in the Fenway Bowl.
Yes, they were against North Carolina.
Right. So I'm not sure what the payout was there. If it's the same, you know, I would think Pinstripe and Fenway are competing with each other. They play them at the same time. Yankee Stadium, Fenway Park. I would think that the payout should be close to that, but they don't publicize it. And I believe the payout for the Pinstripe was $4 million. So that's a lot. That's a lot for one team.
It's a lot for one team, and it's a lot for 2 7 and 5 programs.
Right, exactly. So I mean, and that's close to what teams are getting in the biggest conferences. that's roughly the numbers I was seeing. But like I said, I wasn't super confident with some of the weirdness, so I kind of held that back this week. Maybe I'll next week show it.
And I can say this as a Nebraska fan because obviously it was 7 years or whatever since we had the since we had a bowl game.
Right.
But if you watched the Pinstripe Bowl, Nebraska has always been a team that's traveled well. They always sell their portion of the tickets. They hold up their end, is what I'm saying, when it comes to bowl season, when it comes to making that money. And there are teams that do, and there are teams that don't. There are teams that just are not, that don't have large fan bases. They don't travel well. That will not be a problem when we discuss the semifinals of the college football playoff, Terry. All 4 teams have very good fan bases that will travel to watch their team play. Nebraska, just odds and ends notes, fired their special teams coordinator this week. Ed Foley contract was not renewed. It expired December the 31st. Pretty much knew this was going to happen. He's been a long-time Rule guy. Thanks to the way college football works, so Terry, they can put him on as an analyst, and yes, he's been demoted or removed from that position, but special teams cost Nebraska 4 wins this year. You can't do that when you want to play. So now going into year 3, Rule has a new offensive coordinator in Dana Holgerson, a new DC in John Butler, and he will have a new special teams coordinator. And by the way, according to 24/7, he's got the number 8 transfer class in the country as of this recording. And I think according to 3, what is it? 3 on Sports?
On 3, yeah.
On 3, rather. It's like number 14 or 12, or they've fallen out of the top 10, but they're very, very close. So,
okay. Yeah, these rankings, it's weird from like 24/7 to On 3 with some of these rankings, because like you were talking about, like Auburn on 3 is 6.
Yeah.
And like on 24/7, I think they're quite a bit lower. So it's just weird seeing.
Yeah, Nebraska's number 8 on 24/7, but they're in the teens on 3. So, it's kind of the inverse of what you're talking about. But anyway, Nebraska's got a lot of visits. They've got signed people. Here's the thing, though. They still have to get to 105. And I don't know if that's even being talked about at Auburn, Terry, but you have to get to 105 players at some point, And when do you make that decision? Before fall camp, before spring camp? I mean, spring game? When do you know who your 105 are?
So when does the transfer portal open again? I guess is the question. We need to dig into that. Is that after spring?
It's spring. Okay.
So I guess it would be right around the transfer, because you want to be able, if you are cutting somebody, even the video game now doesn't talk about cutting players. It talks about encouraging them to transfer. So that's what you're really doing these days. You're not saying we've cut you. You're saying it might be in everybody's best interest if you look for another position somewhere else. Because there's
April 16th through the 25th.
Okay.
10 days. April 16th through the 25th. So it's going to be after everybody's spring game, or right after the spring game.
So I think it's going to be right around then is when you're going to see the rosters get to where they're going to get.
But I mean, 105, like I said, Nebraska had 155 this year. That's a lot of football players, and you got to get rid of them. And you're bringing teams. That's the thing. This transfer portal we're talking about, Nebraska has done very well in the portal. They didn't do as well last year or the year before, but I think you're going to see, as we talked about last week, the continuation of NFL coaches and their influence and how they're accustomed to trading players at the end of the season. They're accustomed to players not being there and having to lock players down. We're talking about locking players down, Terry. You can skip Nebraska for a minute. The Arizona State quarterback has just signed a $3 million NIL deal.
Right.
To come back next year.
Yeah, and there was a lot of talk about Scatterboo from the playoffs, but Sam Levitt played great too. I mean, he was a huge part of that offense in that game.
Well, and the thing that should be reassuring for Arizona State fans, and I'm not one. I mean, I think they played great football this year,
Right.
but the coach is a young guy, 34 years old, out of Auburn, as Terry can tell you, a former assistant.
He was there. Well, he was there in like 1 year, but long enough to drag Bo Nix to Oregon with him.
Yeah, but Whittingham or not Whittingham, Denningham or whatever his name is. Anyway,
Dillingham, yeah.
Dillingham. He also locked down his 2 coordinators for the next 3 years.
Right.
And, like I say, produced Scattaboo and the rest. And we had Arizona State at the bottom of the Big 12.
Yeah, and we had Oklahoma State at the top.
Yeah, we had Oklahoma State at the top of it. So,
or close to the top at least.
Yeah, I picked Utah, and they didn't do well either with seventh-year senior Cam Rising.
Right.
So, but the point is, now we're going to start seeing some transfers. So I don't know if you saw it yet, because I just got the alert myself while we were recording the other show. Genty is declared for the draft, so he is gone. The Alabama quarterback, Jalen Milroe, and we're going to talk about the football game, I think, against Michigan. He has declared for the draft. So, and I didn't see any coaching changes. Do you have any coaching changes for me, Terry?
I'll look. Maybe we'll do a wrap up of the coaching changes the next episode to give it time and see what happens. Because realistically, there might be teams with coordinators that are in the semifinals, and if they get beat, you might see something announced. But why don't we just dig into the games and see what we.
Yeah, just to put a bow on that thought, Clemson fired their DC, and their targets for new DC is Al Golden out of Notre Dame. He's in the semifinal.
Right.
The defensive coordinator for Ohio State is a wish list. I forget his last name, but he is incredible, and we're going to get there. They talked about Texas's coordinator. And they've even gone to Penn State with the former Indiana coach, Tom, whatever his name is. I forget.
Oh, goodness. I know. Yeah.
That is now the Penn State DC. I'm like, wait a minute, Dabo. Those 4 are in playoff semifinal games, and these is your wish list? What is wrong with you? But anyway, it doesn't matter. So, yeah, we'll see more of that next week, I suppose, and the week after.
But you mentioned Clemson, and we're talking transfer portal, because up to this point, Clemson really just hasn't used it. But Dabo flipped a switch this year, and he started using the transfer portal.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a guy that won the conference, got to the playoffs, really without using the transfer portal. And there've been questions about Dabo, whether he's got anything left, and I think he's answering those questions pretty well. And Clemson may dominate the ACC moving forward completely if they're sticking with the ACC. Haven't heard anything new about that recently.
No, and his quarterback's coming back too. So they'll have the benefit of having a very well-experienced play caller. The last time that happened, some guy named Trevor Lawrence helped them win national championship. So,
but right now, we are in the quarterfinals, or we just had the quarterfinals, and let's run through it. First game we got Penn State, Boise State, and I've heard a lot of talk about Genty not showing up, but I don't think that was the story here. If you really pay attention, Penn State wins 31-14, but Genty did get over 100 yards. He had 30 carries to get there, but 3 interceptions ain't helping anything, and he ain't causing that.
No, and here's the one thing that you and I did not analyze when we talked about the Penn State and Boise State game. I said to you, I don't know if Boise's offensive line can hold up against Penn State's defense, but we know they did against Oregon. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to talk about Oregon in a minute. We know they did against Oregon.
Right.
However, the element of line play you and I did not talk about was Penn State's offensive line. And they chewed up yards, and they got on linebackers, and they really just, 216 yards rushing.
Yeah.
And they pretty much imposed their will physically. And that's the one bad thing when you get a matchup, Penn State Big Ten team versus Boise Mountain West, or I guess the Mountain West.
Right.
There is so much bigger, more physical play of Penn State. That's why Boise has always been that team that's got to run the gadget or the trick play, or they've got to do a double backward pass because they have to do something unique. Boise did not play that brand of Boise State football in this game.
Right.
There was nothing they did that confused the Penn State defense. And James Franklin and Tom Herman, I think it is. No, it's not Herman. It's whatever. The guy, the defensive coordinator.
Tom Allen,
that's who it is. They were ready for everything, including Genty. And, you see these big defensive tackles trying to stop Genty. And he is just leaning forward and fighting for every single yard. If I'm an NFL scout, that got notated.
Right.
But this guy, in a loss, they're down 17 points, is still fighting to the very end.
He's still pumping those legs all the way through. Yeah. And I mean, and you get more yards that way. You don't just lay down.
This was 30 hard carries, Terry. This was not. He didn't break anything loose to speak of. This was 30 hard carries for those 100 yards.
Exactly. Yeah, so when I hear people say that he didn't show up, that to me is lunacy, because I thought he did. Yeah.
Yeah, and good for James Franklin. He won a second big game. Maybe he can get that stink off of him, and maybe not, because they've got another big one coming up.
They do. We'll talk about it in a minute, but let's move to the second game, and that's Ohio State, Oregon. And this was ugly early. Oregon kind of bounced back, but not enough and way too late.
Yeah, they went down 34-7, but the Oregon running back is coming back next year. That was also announced today on Twitter, but look at that rushing line, negative 23 yards against Ohio State's defense. You're not doing anything if you can't run the football. And
no turnovers from either side, but I mean, it's just, if you can't run the ball, holding on to the ball and not being able to run it, you're still not going to score many points here.
And Oregon's offense requires them to be able to run the football.
Mm-hmm.
When they went down 34-7, the game was over, because they can't just, or 34-8, I guess it was. They can't just drop back and pass. That is not Oregon football.
Right.
They want to spread you out. They want to run outside. They want to run inside. They want to counter. They want to trap. They were unable to execute their offense. But if you look at possession, even, third down, percentage-wise, barely even, but the yards, 500 total yards by Ohio State's offense. This is the Ohio State that I expected when we previewed the season.
Right, and they've had all this talent the whole year, and really, I don't think they had a single game that came close to their playoff games, because they have really shown up both playoff games. I don't think they had a single game all year where they played to that level.
No, and even the Michigan game, which everybody calls the game, it's the biggest deal, blah, blah, blah. They didn't show up for that.
No.
Not to get beat 13-10 at home. So Ohio State is going to be a hard out for Texas, and we'll get there when we preview it.
Let's move along to game number 3, and that is Texas, Arizona State. Pretty well debated. Double overtime, Texas wins 38-31. Arizona State whipped them in yardage, but
and ball control.
Yeah.
Possession. But Texas had those explosive plays in the first half. They went up 14-3, and they just I want to say Texas let up off the gas, Terry, personally. Because it looked like this one was going to be a blowout. But Arizona State kept coming and clawing back and clawing back. They got a safety. They got the block. I guess it was the block. No, it was a safety. They got a safety. They got the field goal.
Third quarter, yeah.
Yeah, and then of course they scored another 16, and the running back, the quarterback, great play together, minimized mistakes, but Texas athletes beat Arizona State. Kind of what we talked about, that the athletic differences between the two teams, that's what was going to come into play in this game. Because quite frankly, Texas didn't possess the ball. They didn't run the ball well. They didn't do those things that you expect a Texas football team to do. 53 yards rushing to 214, and you wonder why your possession's 15 minutes lopsided.
Yeah, if you don't look at the score here and you look at all the other stats, there's no way that you think Texas wins this football game. They didn't have more turnovers. They had 4 more penalties. Arizona State ran the ball 150 yards more than they did.
And 24 third down opportunities?
Yeah.
I mean, damn.
They lost everything but the score.
Yep. And Texas knows, when you listen to Sark give that interview after the game, he knew what type of dogfight they were in, because they were in a fight all the way to the end of it. Because, when you go up 17-3, you think, oh, this game is over, blah, blah, blah. It certainly was not.
Yeah, and then Scatterboo wins the player of the game in the Peach Bowl. Yeah. And on the losing team, that's the first time that's ever happened.
Very impressive running back. He's going to make a very good NFL player, I think.
Yes. I saw where somebody was at, I can't remember, called him Scatter Boy. Let's move on to the fourth game. That's Notre Dame, Georgia. And this one felt closer than the score, but I guess it's those 2 turnovers. I mean,
meat grinder. This is the type of football game I love to see.
Yeah, I mean, and Georgia got to 300 total yards. Notre Dame had 244. Defense is playing great. But Notre Dame was able to move the ball on the ground a lot better than Georgia, and they held on to it, and that won the football game.
And they forced the 2 turnovers, like you said. Because you look at fourth down, 4 for 14 is not a scorecard you want to turn in, let alone 2 for 12.
Right.
I mean, but Al Golden's defense for Notre Dame was playing lights out. Now, let's qualify this. Carson Beck, longtime football player who's now declared for the draft as well. He's out with the shoulder or the elbow surgery, whatever.
Right.
He's not in the game. That makes a difference, and there's no way it doesn't make a difference. Georgia's defense kept the game close enough to win, but you got to have offensive output show up, and they just didn't have any at Georgia's football. Right. And Al Golden, the DC for Notre Dame, along with Marcus Freeman, the head coach, they had a game plan, and that game plan, take the running game away from Georgia, make the quarterback throw the ball, and he threw the ball. 234 yards, Terry. He threw the ball. But when did you ever see a Georgia football team turn in less than 100-yard game?
Well, I mean, exactly. But honestly, the way this played out, I don't think Carson Beck being there would have, the way he's played this year, would have necessarily made a difference here. I don't think that was the biggest difference. I just don't think they were going to, because that Notre Dame defense is great.
Yeah, and we called it the day we previewed this, that this could have been the game of the whole playoff.
Right.
Because you had such evenly matched teams, physical defenses. They're going to go out there and knock your damn head off. Both of these teams, and they're fast and they stunt and they move and they twist and they blitz. And Al Golden called the game of his life as the DC for Notre Dame. I mean, called the game of his life. And Notre Dame's in the semifinals because of it. I mean, look, they played sloppy. They had 75 yards worth of penalties. 10 penalties.
Right.
And there towards the end of the fourth quarter, it was looking like Georgia was going to try. They went for it on fourth down, and they missed twice. So, but that does not change the fact that Georgia is Georgia and that Kirby Smart is Kirby Smart. Right. I personally think Kirby Smart's the best football coach in college football. That's an opinion. Doesn't make it a fact. But when you look at what he did after Rick left Georgia and the way that he's won championships at Georgia, and won a lot of football games in the SEC. A lot of football games. Right. What has he lost 3 games in 5 years, Terry, or 4 years in regular conference play?
Right.
I mean, it's insane.
And it was just Alabama for a while.
Yeah, it's crazy what the man has done. So Georgia will be back. Nobody worry about that. But the Notre Dame football team is on a roll. And by the way, no Brian Kelly is an improvement in South Bend, Indiana, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I think Marcus Freeman obviously is young. He's intelligent. He's learning on the fly. He's been in big games and made mistakes. He's cleaned that up. He keeps getting better, and this is a solid team he's put together. And I think they're just going to get better as he moves forward.
Well, and for all the talk about the week conference schedule or non-conference schedule, they don't have a conference, but their week schedule, the season schedule this year, Terry, they took down A&M
right
at College Station. They took down Georgia, and they took down Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
This is a good football team.
It is.
This is a good football team, and we'll find out just how good they are against Penn State.
All right, let's look now at the current situation. We've got first game, Orange Bowl. It's going to be Notre Dame and Penn State. And then the Cotton Bowl, the other semifinal, is going to be Ohio State and Texas.
Yep.
And that's coming up. What are the dates on these? Thursday and Friday?
Thursday and Friday of this week, yeah.
Okay. I don't remember which one's first, but yeah, we were trying to figure out when we're going to record, and it's like we had Raw last night. We wanted to make sure we could talk about that. So we didn't record last night, and we thought, can we record Tuesday? We got soccer practice Wednesday, and we said, maybe we can record Thursday. And I was like, oh, crap, never mind, the semifinals Thursday. So one of those is, it might be the Notre Dame Penn State first.
Notre Dame Penn State, 7:30 on ESPN Thursday, and Friday, Ohio State, Texas, 7:30 on ESPN.
All right, well, let's take a look at both of these. Notre Dame, Penn State, as we talked about, solid defenses. 2 solid defenses again going up against each other, and these are not teams that are turning the ball over a lot. Notre Dame's getting turnovers on defense, and that's really helping out. Did it against Georgia. Maybe that's going to be the difference again, but. 2 solid teams that hold on to the ball. They know how to run the ball. They play good defense. And it's going to be another really good game in the trenches.
To me, it looks like these guys are mirror images of each other.
Mm-hmm.
One thing offensively I would give Penn State the advantage on, Terry, is the tight end play. They've got really good big receivers at Penn State. They've got a tight end who should go first round in the draft. But Notre Dame is hot right now.
Right.
Sometimes that momentum, and I'm going to say the same thing when we talk about Ohio State, sometimes that momentum is enough to give you just that extra. This is going to be a dogfight. I don't see this going any other way.
Right.
Then this is going to be a battle for the line of scrimmage, and every single yard is going to end up being critical to the outcome of this football game. Every single yard.
And what's our line here? Penn State by 1.5? Or no, Notre Dame by
1.5.
Okay.
Yeah, believe it or not, Notre Dame is a 1.5 point favorite. Now, the Orange Bowl is in Miami, I believe.
Right.
So there's no advantage for Notre Dame or Penn State in the state of Miami or in the state of Florida.
Right.
So anyway, I don't know if we're
well, let's go ahead and pick it. Right.
Okay.
So I will say this. So in my original picks for the bracket that we've got out
I'm out. Yeah, go ahead, buddy.
I have everything perfect so far. I picked everything exactly the way it's happened, and I picked Penn State in this game. Honestly, if I had to review that and repick, I think I'm picking Notre Dame. So my expectation is that Notre Dame's going to win this game by a field goal or something.
I really want to pick Penn State because I want James Franklin to be able to shut everybody up. Mom, will be honest with you, Terry. I think Notre Dame is a special football team that is riding the lightning. They took down Indiana after all that shit talking done on game day. And then they beat up Boise and probably the best running back in the country.
Right.
Or Notre Dame didn't beat up. No, that was Penn State. Excuse me. Notre Dame took down Georgia.
Right.
And one of the best defenses in the country. But their quarterback play is fairly even. The defense is fairly even. The physicality is fairly even. Yep. 1.5 points might be too much. I mean, seriously, it might be.
This might be our overtime semifinal game.
Yeah, as much as I want to pick Penn State because they're Big Ten, because they're physical, because James Franklin wants to win the big one, I'm going with the momentum of Notre Dame, and I'm going to take them by 2 points. Seriously, 2 points. Failed PAT or failed, point, whatever, 2 point.
Or overtime.
I'm taking them by 2 points. Notre Dame wins this football game. And do not expect them to shoot the lights out in this football game. No. Either team. Do not expect a high scoring.
They're going to grind it out. They're going to run the ball. They're going to play defense. There might be a turnover here and there. There's going to be some field goals. I don't see a lot of big plays here.
No. Now the other game.
Watch it be 65-62.
Oh yeah. Just like the Auburn year. You remember with Nick Marshall in Oregon.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That was Cam Newton's year.
It was Cam in Oregon. That one we were gonna score 150 points between both teams, and it ended up.
We had a walk-off field goal that put them over 20. Yeah.
Yeah, or whatever. Yeah, 22-10, whatever it was.
22-19. Yeah.
22-19. That's what it was. Yeah. So point being that we can think that this is going to be defense only. Now, I still think that's a fairly good prediction based on the way they play football.
Right.
But I just don't expect a shootout. Now, Texas, Ohio State, this one could be a shootout, Terry, because they can both score.
Well, and these two teams, these are, I would say, the top two rosters talent-wise in the country.
And look at how even they are. And that's true in both games. In both games, look how evenly matched both teams are.
Right. I mean, we're talking the defenses. Texas is giving up 12.5 points a game. Ohio State 10.9. I mean, that's not a lot of points that they gave up this year. The offenses are not that far off. Texas 445, Ohio State 423. They score roughly the same number of points. Turnover margins roughly the same, and penalties are roughly the same. I mean, right across the board, they are almost identical. But that was that Ohio State team. These numbers are based on the Ohio State team before they flipped that switch. And that, to me, is going to be the difference. And Ohio State's favored by 5.5. I don't think it's enough. I think Ohio State wins this by 10 points.
I would agree with you. I want to see Sarkisian be successful, but the way Ohio State handled the best team in the country, Oregon was the most complete, best football team in the country. Now, you got the rematch bugaboo, because we saw this, as you can remember in the SEC days, Terry, LSU comes into Tuscaloosa.
Oh, yeah.
And beats Nick Saban 9-6 in a field goal affair. And then in one of the most lopsided national championship games ever, Alabama wins 21-0.
And they didn't even get past the 50-yard line.
LSU did not cross the 50. That's why I said it was one of the most lopsided, because you're like 21-0, that's only 3 scores. If you watch that football game, it wasn't close.
Right.
If you watch the first half of Oregon and Ohio State this past week, it wasn't close.
It wasn't barely 0. It was well beyond 0.
It was incredible what Ohio State did. I think they ride that momentum because they blasted Tennessee. Yeah. Now, they had the home field advantage, but they blasted a very good Tennessee football team. They blasted the number 1 team in the country.
Yeah.
I think they ride that momentum and they keep blasting it. And the thing is about Ohio State is its offense, defense, and special teams. They do not have a weakness in this game.
Right. And their superstar receiver is a true freshman.
And probably, if eligible for the draft, would go in the first round.
Right. Exactly. He's probably the best receiver in the country. And I know we have some good ones. We've got a lot of good freshman receivers this year.
Yeah, well, hell, the 17-year-old from Alabama, Ryan Williams.
And then like Cam Coleman started coming on at the end for Auburn. They were through to him more, and it might, the thing there with him was it's like, are they throwing to him more so he doesn't leave? Because they're 5-7, but they kept.
Well, and that's the one thing about it too, and you and I both know it, is that you've got to get enough production and enough wins to keep these people that you spend all this money and time recruiting and signing.
Well, like I said in the other show, they impressed somebody because Andy Staples has them way too early, number 10 for next year, and I think even as an Auburn fan, I think that's a chaotic pick. I don't have that much confidence, but that's a preseason show for next year. We need to shut her down on that logic, but
well, this is what I'm going to be very interested in, because we're going to talk about this matchup real quick. Jeremiah Smith, wide receiver for Ohio State. Does Isaiah Bond for Texas be the cover man, transfer in from Alabama? That would be a very intriguing matchup, player on player, if you put Isaiah Bond on Jeremiah Smith. But anyway,
I've already turned the page accidentally. That was a slip of the finger there. Sorry.
27-16, Terry, in the Capital One Bowl Mania. I was rolling and then ran into a bad run of luck. I picked Alabama in this Michigan-Alabama game. Terry, did you know Alabama did not show up to play? Were you aware of that fact?
I've heard. I had a Facebook timeline that had quite a few comments about that. Being down here, I've got a lot of friends from high school that had comments, and some of them were talking about Auburn as they were getting beat by Michigan, and I had to remind them, there's no reason to talk about us, buddy. Think about your football game. But that's how that goes sometimes.
Jalen Milroe, much like Carson Beck, has been somebody that we thought would have been like a Heisman candidate front runner because of his age, his experience, veteran quarterbacks. Buddy, their seasons blew up. Jalen Milroe did not look good the last few games of the season. He certainly did not look good in this game. But Alabama was supposed to be the real team in, not, SMU or Clemson or whoever, make the argument. Michigan put it on them. Michigan took care of business in this Reliant Bowl.
And that's the thing about Michigan, and we've talked about these teams that are grinders, that play defense, they hold on to the ball, they run the football, and that's what Michigan is. And they won games last year like that where they just didn't throw the ball, and that's kind of what they are this year. And it didn't win a ton of games for them, but it won enough, and it beat Ohio State, and it beat Alabama.
And, that's a good building block for Michigan for next season. I mean, genuinely, you knocked off Alabama in the bowl game. You knocked off Ohio State, who, let's face it, could win a national champion. And you just put that on your resume. Well, we beat the national championship football team.
Right. And then the next game, we got Louisville wins 1 point in the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl, 35-34 against Washington. And Louisville is one of those teams that I don't ever know what to pick, because they can show up and be good or they can be trash. But they showed up for the bowl game and won it.
If there was an award for most inconsistent football team, so here's the funny thing. I picked Louisville or Washington on this show. I picked Louisville in my bowl pick'em.
Right.
So and I did the bowl pick'em before I did the show. But Louisville this year under Jeff Fromm has been so up and down that it got to the point during the season where I wouldn't even pick them. It was like Washington last year, where we would pick against Washington and they would win, and they would win, and they would win. I don't know. Louisville's gotten a couple of big transfers in the portal already, and he loves fifth-plus year seniors as quarterbacks. So that one was fun, but it was not nearly as much fun as the Gamecocks and the Illini, Terry, and the incident between the two head coaches during the game.
So the Citrus Bowl. So, and I I guess I got to think back at all the details. So Illinois wins this 21-17. Brett Bielema has always tried to turn the wrench on the fast offenses a little bit and really throw it back. He did that with Gus. He would really, when he was at Arkansas, he really, really had conflict with Gus in the same manner. And to me, I don't know if there's going to be a rule change or whatever. They've changed rules in the area of substitutions because of the fast offenses. They said it's not fair to the defense for you to substitute right at the last minute. We're gonna hold up and stand over the ball and not let you snap it. But my understanding is that at one point, Illinois sends in a couple of players, waits on the other guys to get almost to the sideline, and sends a second wave of players in, and then South Carolina takes a timeout. So that was one incident, and then there was another thing about South Carolina was returning a punt or something, and the guy put his arms out, and it looked like a fair catch kind of deal or a don't touch it kind of deal. But Bielema didn't like that too much, and there's a little taunting on the sideline during an injury timeout.
Yeah,
and Beamer flipped out.
Went ballistic. And Brett Bielema's a dickhead. Like, he is 100% just dickhead. He was at Wisconsin. He was at Arkansas, and he is at Illinois. I mean, he is a dickhead, and he's been sucking on an air hose. He should listen to the top 10 episode we just did about things you can do for New Year's, including diet, exercise, and eating healthier. Because, man, he's gonna keel over dead, and I can't wait for Nebraska to beat his ass. But I mean, he just I don't know. He does things like with this quiet Midwestern arrogance that just pisses me off. And I dealt with that when I lived there. There's just this hubris. It's like fucking Iowa.
Well, what got me when he was in the SEC was that he was at Arkansas. Yeah, Arkansas wasn't doing anything. No. But he was kind of the guy.
And he bolted for Arkansas, by the way. Yeah. The first chance he got, he went to the SEC because he thought he could coach with the big boys like Saban and Miles and all the rest.
Well, that's the thing, though. It's like with, he was almost like that buddy, like Saban would stand out in front and make some statements. And then this guy was much more of a jackass and thought kind of the same way Saban did, but was much more of a jackass about it, would stand behind and talk up because he had Saban kind of on his side, he felt like. But he doesn't have nearly the charisma that Saban does, and he didn't know how to really speak to the media. So he would just throw jabs out there coming from Arkansas, who wasn't really even winning any real football games.
Correct. Yeah, I honestly just think the guy's a dickhead. That's me.
Right.
And part of that is because he can't lose to Nebraska, so that just pisses me off. But
where do they have them next year? Is it on the road?
He finds a way to win. No, we don't even draw them. They didn't even play them, but they find a way to win, and it annoys me. And I'll tell you what else annoys me is an LSU victory led by Brian Kelly. Baylor gave him a fight. But Nussmeier in that offense of LSU is just too much, Terry, because they don't play defense. It's just too much on the offensive side of the football. And the Texas Bowl, by the way. LSU wins the Texas Bowl.
So. Right, over Baylor. And Auburn has Baylor first game of the year next year, so we'll see what happens there.
Dave Aranda is a great defensive coordinator. I think it's still out on whether he's a good head coach or not. I don't think he is, but that's my opinion.
Now, he was at Wisconsin at one point?
LSU and Wisconsin, yes, sir.
Okay.
So,
because I remember at one point I was thinking this would be a good guy to try to get, because one of Auburn's many looking for a coach years, I was thinking Aranda might be a good young guy to go grab. But it hasn't proven out as a head coach really for him.
Well, and look at the program he's at, though. He's at Baylor.
Right.
And he's at Baylor after Briles and Rule, so Baylor won some football games, but they won some football games in the Big 12 with down years at Oklahoma and probably under less than desirable circumstances.
Right.
with the rape scandal with Art Browse. Speaking of less than desirable circumstances, if you're a Duke fan, the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl. Did you see the last minute and a half of this game? It was 100% obnoxious.
Oh, it was like video games, and Lane Kiffin was going to get as many points as he possibly could.
And that's Duke didn't help. They ran it back for a touchdown. It's like
so Ole Miss, and Lane, he had something to prove here because Alabama had already been beaten by Michigan.
South Carolina
had already been beaten by Illinois, and there was a lot of egg on the SEC's face. And I mean, this is not making up for all of it, obviously, because the SEC is kind of showing they're not really the top dog because there's not that team. Georgia did not end up being that team this year. Texas is in the semifinal, but we picked against them, and we'll see what happens. But Ole Miss came out slinging it, and 52-20 win in the Gator Bowl, and kind of expected that. Kind of expected Lane to be prepared because it's a big deal to him.
Well, and there was a benefit of being the last one up.
Right.
He had the motivation, he had the time, he had the preparation, being on the schedule, the calendar, the way it fell after the first of the year. Lane Kiffin's a good football coach. And again, Terry, 10 wins in Oxford.
That's hard to do because they don't win championships in Oxford.
No. And I thought he'd win 12 games this year because I genuinely thought with Alabama losing Saban, he had a chance. But they lost to teams they shouldn't have lost to. He lost to Arkansas. You got to beat Arkansas. You can't lose to Arkansas. And you lost to Kentucky.
Right.
If you win both those games, you're in the playoff. You're not in the Gator Bowl.
That's right.
So.
Yeah, and that's what I've been saying. It's like there's all this debate about who should have been in or whatever. I would say that out of 134 teams, 130 of them had reasons not to be in.
Yeah.
And some of them had to be in.
Yeah, like you could not deny Oregon. I mean, that's
right.
It's a fact. But then they got taken to school too. So
right.
Anyway.
Moving on, we got the First Responder Bowl, Texas State and North Texas. Here's an interesting, and I sent this text to you guys. This was interesting when they pointed this out during the game. Texas State, I guess it was called something else at one point. When they did the movie Unnecessary Roughness, they filmed the movie at the North Texas campus, and the name of the school was Texas State. So now these two teams are playing in a bowl game. Texas State wins 30-28.
Yeah, and I mean it was a good football game for what it was, but it's not primetime must-see broadcast. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Well, it's two teams that you're never going to see in the playoff. I mean, correct. Reality. I mean, even though we have these tie-ins, we got 134 teams. A big chunk of them are never going to sniff the playoff. But this was a good football game. You didn't really know much about them coming in. The commentators knew that, and they tried to inform you a little bit about the schools. But that's part of what bowl season's about. Give me two teams I haven't seen all year. Tell me about their quarterback and what he's done this year, and let me watch him sling it around. 30-28 victory for Texas State.
And that is like I said, that is probably the one thing for people like you and me that love football. Mm-hmm. We don't mind the bowl games. There are a lot of people that want to see 5 to 7 bowl games like it used to be back in the 80s. Because then they meant something,
Right.
I mean, if you made the Sugar Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, the Orange Bowl, the Fiesta Bowl, the Rose Bowl, it meant something. And I said 7. There might have been 10. Right. There weren't 43. Yeah, so
right.
There weren't 43. But it's a big business. It pays. It's content. It's entertainment.
You get tickets, something like the Pop-Tarts Bowl. And I love the Pop-Tarts Bowl because they don't even pretend. They know that there's some pretty good teams in the Pop-Tarts Bowl, but they are having fun.
Yeah.
And it's all
and only playing half the football game and ruining my poll pick.
Tell you who didn't only play half the football game, Minnesota, with a 24-10 victory over Virginia Tech.
I hate PJ Fleck. He is such a douche, but he did take the mayonnaise over the head.
That part I can do without that. I'll take the Pop-Tart in the fake toaster all day over watching some guy get mayonnaise poured on him.
Oh God, it was so gross. Like and of course, because he's such a self-serving individual, had to make it about him. And I'm just like, get the hell out of here. Hopefully Virginia Tech has a better season next year. It was fun to see them be real competitive. They should have had the win over Miami. No one will ever convince me otherwise. But yeah, another Big Ten win. Big Ten did better in the bowl season than the SEC if you were keeping the score. And the ACC did not do well at all. So, and let's not talk about the Pac-12, Terry.
Well, they were, 0-1 probably? Something like that? Of the two teams that are in the
one
conference.
Team didn't make it, Washington State.
But I hear they made a lot of money, though, because they still have bowl ties.
Probably. What about the Bulls of whatever New York
Buffalo.
team?
Buffalo Bulls. They beat Liberty, the Flames, 26-7. And Liberty's one of those teams that's good in a bad conference.
Yeah, I picked Liberty because they always have talent, but they did not show up against the Buffalo.
And that's the Bahamas Bowl. And last year, the Bahamas Bowl, I think, was not even played in the Bahamas. There was that 1 year absence or whatever, and they lost their sponsor. And they got a sponsor this year. It's a travel agency or something. I can't remember exactly what it is, but
kind of like a mortgage company. It's real goofy.
But it kind of. So whatever, they figured it out this year, and Buffalo beat Liberty 26-7, and they've got that weird slot that's the last non-playoff bowl game that they just kind of shove in there. But we just want more football, and we're going to watch it. I don't care if it is Buffalo and Liberty.
It doesn't bother me.
So that's all the bowls for this year, and all we have left is 3 games.
But 3 good games. Regardless, there's going to be 3 really good football games.
And 3 games left, and so far, I am perfect in my college football playoff.
Yeah, you're the only one even with a chance, because so many of us picked Oregon, and that is bracket busted.
I think there's only one person in this thing that can beat me. If I lose both of these and they win the whole thing, they beat me. But I think other than that, I've wrapped it up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I picked Oregon because Oregon has, why wouldn't you pick Oregon?
Right.
Particularly when Ohio State lost to Michigan 13-10 in Columbus.
Yeah, and it looked like, the expectation has to be that Oregon and Ohio State are going to have a close game at least. I expected Ohio State to beat them by a touchdown or a field goal, not to just trash them like they did.
Yep. And that's one of the things about Ohio State historically is that they are so dangerous when they get hot. This reminds me of the run they had in 2014 when they won the very first college football playoff.
Right.
Because they had J.T. Barrett, Braxton Miller, and Cardell Jones as their 3 quarterbacks, and they had to use all 3. And when Cardell got to the playoff, he was lights out as the number 3 quarterback in the country, or in the team, on the team. This is the 3rd string guy that won you a national championship. Now, they had Zeke Elliott. They had good defense. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't just Cardell Jones. But you put the ball in the hands of the 3rd string quarterback in the national championship game, and you won the football game. That's why Ohio State's level of talent is obscene. It's ridiculous how good they are.
It is, and they're playing to that level now. And like we keep saying,
did they have to get in the playoffs to all of a sudden show up and be Ohio State that we've expected?
I guess so, but with this format, if you maybe that's the key. Just get there and then turn it on.
Well, your record is irrelevant when the playoff starts.
Right.
They're going to find that out this week with the NFL. Mahomes and company's 15-2, and they don't have to play till next week, but there are several AFC teams that could take the Chiefs down. So, and one of them that beat them heads up is in the playoff in Buffalo. So, anyway, that's pro football, Terry. They're firing everybody in pro football, all the coaches.
They
fired the Raiders coach. They fired the New England coach.
It's crazy how these great teams get beat by these mediocre teams the last week of the season, huh?
Yeah, I know. There's people that get upset about it, but here's my deal. If I'm already in the playoffs, I'm not playing my guy.
I don't want to injure my quarterback. Yeah.
So he can trip and fall and tear his knee out or something. No, we're not doing that.
Especially when they keep adding games to the season.
That's the other thing. Tennessee lost to Florida tonight in hoops, buddy.
Oh, wow.
Number one team in the country got taken down by the Gators. Yeah.
Yeah, Auburn's got Texas Auburn's at Texas tonight.
Auburn is up 39-27 at half.
Okay.
Pearl's got him playing. Bruce. Oh, Brucey.
He does. He get them. They might get fights on. Yeah, they might get in fights on the plane on the way there and turn around and go back. But they'll show up.
We can't win a national championship in football without Cam Newton. We're gonna go ahead and be basketball fans now.
Hey, we were this close with Nick Marshall, so there's promise.
Yeah, the formula hasn't changed. Big athletic quarterback, offensive-minded head coach that loves the jet sweep.
That's right.
And then all of a sudden you got Hugh Freeze there. What are we going to tell Hugh next year, Terry? Run the damn ball.
Well, I got to tell you, Andy Staples is a believer. That's what we saw. He's got him at number 10 and is way, way too early. And I just don't see.
I told you that's clearly wrong because Nebraska's not in it. So
and Alabama was not in it either.
If we're going to be lunatics about this, Nebraska needs to make an appearance in the top 10.
That makes me nervous. Anytime that Auburn starts high in any kind of ranking, it makes me nervous. Auburn's best seasons, they start around number 20.
I'd rather do what Saban did back in 2008. He started at number 24, ran it all the way to 1. They lost to Florida in the SEC title game, of course, by getting T-bowed. But when your expectation, and Nebraska had more weeks at number 1 than any team in history, and you can fact check it. But how many national championships did they walk away with? And they were ranked number 1 for a very long time.
Right.
They didn't win. They didn't win those Tom Osborne lost as many national championships as he won as a head coach at the University of Nebraska. But he did it with style and he did it with class because real men go for 2, as we've talked about. So anyway.
Well, they're forcing you to go for 2 these days.
Oh my God. Yeah. He would be somebody like Osborne, because he was one of the real first guys that was a play caller. Like he was the head coach, but he was the play caller. And he had this way of seeing 3 and 4 plays ahead of the defense, that he was opposed. He would be a guy that you would not want to do the 1 play overtime with. Because he'd draw the damn thing right up on the sideline and they would execute it. And it would be silly.
You got to have several of those ready to go.
Well, he's like that. He's like Gus Malzahn that way, in that you've got that vision.
Did he have the cards on the side? I'm just kidding.
No, he would just call and they would signal it. But he just called the play and they would signal it. But Osborne often was 3 or 4 plays, and anybody that ever coached against him will tell you he was often 3 or 4 plays ahead of your defense.
Yeah,
like he just had that vision as a play caller, which is why he was one of the best they ever had as the head coach or the assistant head coach when he was the offensive coordinator for Devaney. Nebraska won national championships, Terry, when they moved him to that position. So, anyway.
So what we have coming up, so we are through the quarterfinals. We're done with all of the bowl games. We got 3 games left on the docket. Transfer portal has closed. Is that
it is closed, except for the playoff teams.
The playoff teams
they have 10 days to transfer once the game is played.
Okay, that's correct. I was thinking there was some team specific parts to that. So there'll be some things to talk about there. Might be some coaches moving around. So I'm trying to think of what next week's show is going to look like. And we'll get to dig in a little bit on the semifinals and on the final game, the national championship game, and we'll talk about coaches. We'll talk about recruiting, and we'll just talk about whatever there is.
Yeah, because we are on slate for the 9th and the 10th. And then the national championship game, it's another 10 days. So that's one thing we can dig into next week. They have had a lot of time between these games to prepare for whatever opponent. And I think there's some things you and I can dive into on how prepared somebody was in that particular thing.
That's true. Well, it's been a good show, sir. I think we got through a lot. It's winding down. Not like that marathon from last week where we had like 27 games to talk about. That was ridiculous.
That was hilarious. Next.
Right. What else we got? Who is that team? I've never heard of them.
Yeah.
So there was no undefeated team in FBS. There's no undefeated teams left in FBS, FCS, or anywhere because all the undefeated teams got beat.
Well, and we don't cover it, but the Division III, I think it is, maybe they're Division II, North Dakota State University wins their 10th national championship.
Right.
That is a dynasty.
It is.
Yeah, North Dakota State is incredible. Home of Carson Wentz, for those of you playing along at home. So, anyway, Terry, let's wrap it up and head out.
Let's wrap it up. Thanks, everybody, for no voting for football right now because we're already wrapping it up toward the end of the season. Thanks for hanging in there this year with us as we went through another season. Thanks for hanging in there watching tonight or anybody listening and all the support. Find us on social media, Facebook, Twitter. We are out there. I'm not going to call it X. It's Twitter to me, damn it. It's still Twitter to me, damn it.
Always will be.
But that's about it. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Allison. Allison's long gone, left the studio. She's in the bed. Thanks, everybody that commented. And all of that in my final statement, as always, be a champ this week in all that you do. See you next time, everybody.